All right, friends and neighbors, it's getting down to the wire here. First Monday in April as we get ready for the NFL draft. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that, as well as a couple of holes they're still sitting out there for the Chiefs tonight on RGR Football. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I know it's a little bit earlier than normal, and I saw that there were some problems in there. I feel you, Stevie. I'm having the same kind of problem. So I moved the stream to tonight, and then I had practice canceled on me, so I don't have to get out there. But it's already set. Have some exciting news for you guys. I'm toiling away. Very, very soon. Probably by Wednesday night, the Athletic Matrix will drop and it'll be available. I'll get it uploaded to the site, and you guys can use the discount code. What is it? Matrix RGR is going to be the code. So you guys can get a discount on the Athletic Matrix. It is a PDF. It's all digital. If you haven't seen it before, it's all my athleticism research on this draft class, all boiled down into the aspects of the game that are most important. The draft guide will come a couple weeks later. Dan and Jeff are helping me on that as well. So it's more of a team effort, and there's a lot more production data that goes with the things there. So we'll get into that. But yeah, it's been a lot of long nights, and it's getting down to the wire here. We got a couple pro days still left to come in. So especially this year when we're waiting for pro day data, that's really what it comes down to. So hopefully, knock on wood, by Wednesday night, we should be all set. So look for that. Tonight, I wanted to get into a lot of questions. Jonah, Notre Dame has done their pro day. We have the numbers from, I believe, everyone. LSU's done theirs. We're waiting on Jabril Cox, who's supposedly going to rerun. We will find out some more information on that. I'll have some later for you here as well. The headphones are on because Dan, I think, is going to join me if he gets a chance. So we'll see what happens. Those of you that want to support the channel, I appreciate that very much, as do all the guys around here. Make sure that you like, sub, and hit the bell notification if you're new. And if you do want to support the channel, the super chats and stickers are open, but please ask a question. When you leave that, I appreciate it. No matter what the dollar amount is, I want to help you get your answer. So that's going to be important. And if you're not into that, you can always check out the RGR store. That always helps. I have some cool stuff over there. I think you guys dig it. If you haven't seen the Trooper yet, the main character here is kind of fun. Mr. Gooch is in the house. Thank you very much, Gooch, as always. Yeah, let's get out there and let's go rogue. That's kind of the whole point, right? And the ones that do go rogue in the draft are the guys that have some way that they want to use a particular player that maybe is underestimated by the rest of the league. And that lets them, by going rogue, to go get their own guy. And some of those have high upside and some of them don't. It is just the way that it is. So, at the end of the day, Danilo can run down the combine and the pro day and all that as much as he wants. It is a significant factor. Nothing's more important than film. But the difference between film that requires coaching and what a player can do right now at his college level is sometimes drastically different from what they're able to do as an athlete that needs better coaching. So this is even more applicable to guys who were either in a program that is like high profile, like SEC or something, that where they were stuck behind other talent and they didn't get onto the field. And so that plays into, as well as smaller school guys, that the athleticism is uber important. It is not something you can just blow off. It shows up on the field every week in every game. So let's see. Starting to get questions, not just from Gooch, but always from Gooch, as always. Let's see here. Alan, good morning in Australia. Hope you're doing well. I'm still on tea. I'm going to have a beer here later since I'm not going to be leaving the house. It's going to be the St. Vrain Triple from Left Hand out here in Colorado. Always a nice place. And so, good day. Jonah, let's see. First question, and then we'll get into the super chats and start humming along here, you guys. This is my second time being live streamed. Welcome, Jonah. Glad you made it. I was wondering if you could, if you thought, like I did, that the Jets should have kept Darnold and drafted Penei Sewell and set him up for two bookends. You know, I mean, I like Sam. Was he going to flourish there? I have trouble seeing it. I think the big winner in this is Sam Darnold because he got out of there. Quite frankly, I feel that there's more and exciting talent on defense in Carolina. I think pairing him with Christian McCaffrey is going to be a nice 1-2 punch. Like I'm hopeful to see Sam Darnold reach his potential, and I think he has a better chance in doing it than in a franchise that, quite frankly, is constantly rebuilding. I've reached out to them to try to help them with their athleticism numbers, and they're just constantly in their own way. And I think that's something significant. So good for Sam. I'm happy for him. Mike, I've started to fall in love with Jacoby Stevens. Jacoby Stevens shows up on film. He's not the greatest athlete. He gets beat, as does everybody else. But I think, especially as a day 3 guy, which I think is likely where he's going to go, at least from what I'm seeing and hearing, I think that's great. Good for him. I think he will be a special teams player that can help you, and I think he will be a guy that can grow into his role. I mean, there's no difference between where he is, and I think he's actually farther along in his development than Armani Watts was when he was taken by the Chiefs. So I'm very comfortable with where Jacoby goes. Thank you, Mike. Oh, so you hit the same one as well. Make sure I got that. Thank you, sir. Didi, Derek Kirkstetter. I have not done his film. I'm going to have to take a look at that. Let's see. You'll get it. I guarantee you, Douglas. And I will have that discount for you. That's going to be just for you guys that are here on the channel. By the way, I will have a members video for you tomorrow night. It's going to be short because I have to get all this work done on the Matrix and everything. When the guides are out, we will return to live streams and Zooms for the All Pros and Elites. Patrick asked, do you think that Mitch Schwartz will come back on a cheap deal? He's building a new house in Overland Park, which is why I'm curious. Yeah, like I think he's renovating a home, and he's ripped it apart, new kitchen, whole kinds of. He keeps putting stuff on Instagram about like what he's doing. I think that's kind of fun. I would like to see that happen, and maybe it does, but quite frankly, I think the big concern has to be about getting him healthy, like for his back, for his longevity, for his life, being able to move without pain in the future and that kind of thing. So I think everything else contract-wise will come after the fact, and we'll see what happens. Let's see. Julian, how are you? Have you checked out Stone Forsyth from Florida, built like Orlando Brown? I've just taken a quick sample of him. Dan's doing all the tackle rundowns, and then I'll start cross-checking when the matrix and the guide are done. That's my plan going forward. But yeah, at least from the glimpses that I've seen, there's options there. And the 4 guys that are on the thumbnail for this video aren't the only guys that can help them. Especially we also have to remember, and I do want to say this, like people are going to complain, why'd you put Sam Cosmi on there? Why'd you put Tevin Jenkins on there? They're not going to be there at 31. Well, just because the media think he's not going to be here doesn't mean the teams are going to do that. So I'm not convinced that those guys are all going to be gone at 31. I think there will be a couple more options than what we think right now, or especially based on what we're reading from the media types. I think the run will come, but I think it's going to be a few more up high, and then I think there's going to be a pretty good gap. And even if they all are gone, Dylan Radden should be lower down. And I think there are some quality guys that are more like you have to draft and develop them, which is my concern. I think Dan and I will probably do a video here and talk about that coming up later this week. Late round gem is a good way to put it. And I just don't know where that would be yet until I see his film. Michael Donegan, thank you for the super chat. What do you think of Clowney and AB as long shots? I don't like either of them. I want team first guys at this point because the superstars are on this team are going to stay on this team. And I want somebody that's willing to fit in. And I'm not looking for somebody who is about them. And I don't buy that AB was, corrected all of his behavioral issues just because he was quiet for one season with Tom Brady. So yeah, I would not take the chance myself. I think when you start sprinkling those guys in, it's okay. But I don't think you want to rely on them to play meaningful snaps right away. Let them be the cherry on top if you really feel you need to. But I'd rather concentrate on building from the bottom up. Let's see. And folks, if you are new, hit question marks at the beginning of your question. That helps me find them. Our fearless mod, Aaron Morrow, is in the house, but I can't guarantee that I won't skip over stuff because I don't see it. Steve, how are you? Do you feel that Veach is building a future while also trying to win now? I mean, yeah, that's how the teams do it. Once you've gotten to the top of the heap, then it's about trying to maintain and not lose the things that made you special to get to that and win that championship. But you have to replenish. And so it is a constant carousel, up and down and up and down and up and down. So it becomes kind of a cycle, I think, of how long do you let a veteran go before you replace him with a younger talent. And that's kind of how it is. And I think that's right where they are. I think they're in that swirl at the top. And I hope that they can keep balancing and keep coming back to managing it. Let's see. Gary, how are you? Do you like Liam Eichenberg or Elijah Vera Tucker at 31? I like them both as players. Vera Tucker is better at guard than he is at tackle. That doesn't mean he can't play tackle. But I will tell you this. I think his arm length is going to turn many teams off from him playing tackle, and I think the Chiefs are likely one of them. I don't think that they're going to make that investment given how much talent they have at the interior right now. So that said, Eichenberg obviously is not the athlete that Cosme is, or that I think Jenkins actually graded out better than him. I'm still running all the tackle numbers because the class isn't complete. I like Eichenberg. I just feel by watching him that he's shorter from the hip down. Like his torso is really long, and I feel like that in the end to NFL talent will expose his chest a little bit more than, say, the average tackle. So I'm a little concerned about that. But I do feel this. You could plug him in tomorrow at left tackle, and he will be serviceable. And then it's about, can he grow into being the It's not the same as Fisher, but it is definitely more like he can go in there. Whereas if you drop down and you look at Dylan Radins, or you look at Hudson or the second-tier tackles, those guys are hope that you can develop them to get on the field in year one. I think Eichenberg can play in year one. Same thing with Cosme. Same thing with Jenkins. The question is where and how and when. And another conversation Dan and I will have is about where you could play Tevin Jenkins, because I like his game's great. His hands are probably the best in the draft, but he's played predominantly on the right-hand side, and I don't like bringing in a rookie and asking him to flip sides. It's not a trivial thing. Yes, it can be done, and I'm not saying he can't do it, but it is that much more pressure for a rookie to come in and do it. So I would prefer not to. Alan, I have no idea. I haven't heard from anyone that actually has any contacts inside the organization that says he's seeking a trade. I think that's just fan noise. Ian, why on earth did they bring back Blake Bell? Because he knows the system and they're comfortable with him, and they didn't have any other talent that they could go get in free agency. Now they have somebody in case they can't do anything in the draft. Effective pass catcher. Yeah, well, and that's the problem. There's not much upside there. Jake, thank you for the super chat as always. And your chunk, best part of Mondays, man. We got to improve your Mondays, but I'm glad you're here. Is there a position besides QB that you think the Chiefs do not need to address in this draft? It's a really good question. I mean, quite frankly, there's guard. If you're being specific, not looking at O-line, but if you're looking at specific positions, the group of guards that they have is deep now. Like, that is one that you can scratch off the list. Center is not, but I think if you had to, you could. But I don't think if you draft another guard like an ABT, like I don't think that is the best way to move forward because you have so much volume there. I think safety would probably be the next one down, but I will put this caveat on it. I don't know that Armani Watts and Dan Sorensen have much of a future on this roster beyond 2021. So I could see them making an investment there. But for 2021, I feel like that's probably lower down on the list of priorities. I'm hard-pressed to find another one. There's a lot of room other than quarterback where you can improve. And bring up the bottom of the roster. Like, it's hard to get the ceiling up, but you can improve the bottom of the roster and bring that floor up in case of injury or anything else. Hot and spicy. Thank you for the super chat, Jake. As always. Brevin Jordan to the Chiefs. Possibly. I'm not going to go out of my way. Like, there's nothing about him that says like I have to go get him to me. Now I've only watched like 2 games, I think, so I probably have to go back and do more. I think Danilo's big on him, but I would have to ask him. He's probably in the chat. So Danilo, let us know what you think of Brevin. Adam Roach, thank you. How many positions do we need to address? 1 edge, 1 CB, 1 safety, 1 LB, 2 wide receivers, a tight end. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could do all that. I am unfortunately uncomfortable that they're not going to address corner at all. And there's a couple of corners in this draft that I really like. And that they're just going to be ho-hum. We'll bring Breland back and we're going to just keep on going. I am worried that's exactly what they're going to do, but it is what it is. I also think that there's a lot of corners that are hybrids that you can move to safety. McQuamu is one that I keep coming back to. And I think that could be like the hybrid future of this defense as well, especially knowing that you want to play 3 safeties. And I don't think Spags is going to change that. But if you have a guy that started out as a zone corner and now is a safety, like you have, I think, probably better ball skills to begin with. Member question. Thank you, Stevie Keys. So are we actually going to use the fullback this year? Glad we have Sherman's replacement, but it really seemed like they were phasing out the position. I agree with you. Like I was actually surprised. I didn't think that they would go specifically for another fullback. I thought if they're thinking special teams first, which he did say to Dave that he is focused on being a 4-phase special teamer. That's 2 kicks and 2 returns. That's fine, but I kind of lean towards maybe they would go safety with that kind of thing. Like a safety or a wide receiver can be that guy as well. I was a little bit surprised by that. But the interesting thing, and I said this on the podcast, and I might have to do another little brief video. And you guys let me know, do you like the little videos in the morning? Like some people are watching them, but they're not as good as a normal video in terms of like how many people look at them. So like if I'm just, burning my energy here for nothing, you guys let me know if I should just not even bother doing the morning ones. But seems like some people are watching them. And maybe I should do another one because he said specifically, Michael Burton did, that he came to Kansas City because of the offense, the West Coast offense that Andy runs, and opportunity. Maybe Andy realizes that he's going to see more soft boxes and he's going to have to come back and use the run more. I would love it if that were true, but I'm not holding my breath. AP, you're back. How are you? So is that toe cool? Yeah, hey, everything works, right? Thanks, AP. Are you going to do a full first round mock? Me, as though I'm projecting where every team's going to do? No, I probably won't. Especially this year with not having the combine and having to dig in so much time. Like I've probably gone 50 hours over what I normally do in order to produce the matrix this year because I didn't have a centralized location to get the data from the combine. And so it just takes time and manual entry and all this stuff. So no, I have not been, I have a couple of contacts around the league, but nobody that's going to tell me what they're really thinking. So I probably won't project that. Spicy. Finn, how are you? It's been a while. How or why did we keep Ben Neiman? Well, they brought him back, and it's a really cheap deal. And again, much like Blake Bell, I think they feel like they have a floor with him, that if they can't get anything done to upgrade the position in the draft, that at least they have someone who knows the system and they feel they can put out reps for them if they need it. That's my thought. And that's wise. That's Brett Veach covering his bases so that he, doesn't have to go do something like he did with Speaks and go get a position even when it's drained and the value isn't there. Now he's got his bases covered except for the left tackle spot, right? And that's because there isn't a whole lot of value left out there. But Ben Neiman, I think, and his, I don't know if it's his little brother or somebody, but there's another Neiman coming out this year who is a better athlete by all my measurements. So I think that's going to be interesting as well. Sam, I'm glad you did make it. Chances in percent that we add a left tackle before the draft. I mean, it's 50-50 as far as I'm concerned. I think it needs to be done. I just thought it would have been by now if they really felt that they had somebody they wanted to bring in. So I'm a little concerned about that. Good point. SF, thank you very much for your super chat. Please come back. I'll look for another question here. Trying not to fall too far behind you guys. but you know how I go. So I'm there. Okay, cool. Doug. Oh, thank you very much. Yes, please hit the like, hit the bell so you know what comes next. And the subs always help. YouTube judges you by how many people like your video with a thumbs up and how many people subscribe to your channel. And that's how they show to more people. So appreciate that. Ryan, do they sign KJ Wright, the linebacker from Seattle? I like KJ. And 2 years ago was the last time he was a free agent, right? Or was it last season? I can't remember. But I was big on him then because he was still pretty active. He looked like he slowed down a little bit to me last year. And that's fine. He's hitting that age where that always happens. Can he still be effective? I think so. He's still a coverage linebacker that can stop the run as well. Like he's the older version of what they need. I'd kick the tires. My guess is he wants to go back to Seattle. He's just waiting for the number. But yeah, I would definitely take a look. Christo, I'm not sure who's passing around Richard Sherman rumors, but evidently I'm going to have to do another rumors video because that's absurd. The Chiefs don't play cover 3. When they do, it is a rarity just to mix things up. I think the Chiefs are probably going to play more too high this year, given what the league is going to. I don't know. I think that's pretty crazy. The investment that you would have to make in Richard Sherman is ridiculous for the dollars. I think that is, yeah. Crystal, leave me a note and let me know what channel or person is spreading that rumor because I think that's all it is a rumor. What are the main linebackers in the draft for the Chiefs to keep an eye on in the first 3 rounds? Well, there's Danilo's favorite, Zaven Collins, who I think is probably the best all-around linebacker out there in this class. He certainly is kind of a throwback athletically. Like he's 260 pounds. I think he said he played at 263 this last season. And that Tulsa defense did a pretty good job. They limited Oklahoma State, with Chuba Hubbard and, some other weapons, Tylen Wallace, there's some people out there. And they did a pretty good job. I think they almost won that game, to tell you the truth. So, I find that a comforting fact. That is something that has to play in it, is the level of competition. But then there's Jabril Cox, who Dan's been cross-checking me in my evaluation of him today. I'll be interested to see when Dan gets here what he thinks of that. Because Jabril is a coverage linebacker. He is he has less take on than Willie does. Willie actually does pretty good against guards, but he is a coverage first linebacker. Jabril is not that stout. I still feel like he has some room to grow into his frame, and so I'm optimistic about that. Then there's Jamin Davis, who I think is probably the number 2 all-around linebacker. He can do a little bit of everything. He's good in zone coverage. He comes down the hill. I'd like him. After that, it gets a little thin, where it gets a little bit too, light to coverage oriented only. I'm trying to pull up my list here real quick. And I discounted Micah Parsons and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Only for 2 reasons, because they don't play the way the Chiefs would want to play. If you draft Micah Parsons, he is a attack linebacker. He plays downhill. He's a pass rusher. You could probably line him out on the edge, but he is a blitzer. Whereas Koramoah is Dan Sorensen part 2. Better Dan Sorensen in terms of athleticism, but he is really a strong safety, where he'll line up at linebacker, but he's really a nickelbacker safety guy. And so he's not a 3-down linebacker, in my opinion. You'd have to flex him out. And then you get into the lighter guys. Surratt, Monty Rice is a little bit interesting. He'll be a day 3 guy. Nick Bolton's a day 3 guy in my mind, but he, again, plays downhill really well. I don't like him playing backwards, but if you're not spending a top 100 pick on it, I'm not too worried about it. He does something good. Surratt is a more of a coverage guy, in my opinion. I keep hearing from people that I trust that I need to re-look at Baron Browning, because I looked at his late games and he did have an injury from what I understand. So maybe I undersold him. Maybe he is worth the top 100. I have him at the bottom of the 3rd. And then Dylan Moses hasn't run. The other Ohio State linebackers are all light. They're all pretty athletic, but they're not much muscle coming downhill. And so the linebacker class isn't that huge, Ian, to tell you the truth. What do you think of the new linebackers coach? I think he's, a guy that worked for Andy before. He's got a lot of experience. I think I'm hoping that will help. I don't think Mike House had a whole lot of help before. So I think that's going to be another really experienced guy that can help develop these guys. And I think that signals that they are looking to invest in more youth at the position, and that's why. Concrete, a percent on KJ Wright, 20. That'd be about it, is my thought. I think he really does want to go back to Seattle. Jonah, what do you think of St. Juice from Minnesota? He's huge. He is slightly more athletic. I have to run his numbers. I haven't gotten to the corners in my calculations yet. But he is Breland's size, and he's got that length. I don't think he's played as many snaps, if I remember correctly. Let me see if I can pull it up, how many games he's played. I don't have – well, maybe I do have snap counts, thanks to Jeff Porter. I'm not sure if Jeff's in the chat, but Jeff does all the stats stuff that's letting me know these things. And where does St. Juice go? I don't know that I have him on the list. This list that I'm working off of. I'll have to pull that back up, but I don't think that he's got as many snaps as Breland did in college, is my thought. Avery, thoughts on Cameron McGrone from Michigan? Let's see. I don't recall being impressed with him. I thought he was a mid-tier backer that could do a little bit of everything, but like nothing really stood out to me. Let me see what I have in my notes from him. Little slow in processing, had some trouble with some RPO recognition, and playing backward is a bit more of a challenge. It's not as much of a challenge as it is for some others. He can still move, but he is best playing downhill from what I have here. And again, if you're spending a 4th or 5th or 6th round pick on him, that's perfectly fine. Like, I do think that no matter what they do at linebacker, they got to draft another one that is kind of a Reggie Ragland, that like when you get those teams like the Titans where you have to stop the run, that you have not a starter that you're invested in being a run first linebacker, but a backup that you can bring in and let him attack the run. I think that could be a role for him. Let's see. Tony, the Chiefs have Kaiser back, I believe. Again, that's just backfill with Blake Bell just in case. Ian Cos, do you think that they'll draft a safety to push Sorensen for the 3rd safety spot? They might. Again, I don't think it's high on the priority list, but if that's the best guy on the board and they feel that he could eventually take over that role, I definitely think that they could go that way. Hey, good evening. No, good morning to the Philippines. I'm not sure what time it is there, but glad you made it. Dr. Sanitary, how are you? What position do the Chiefs go in first round in your mind? I think it's down to 3, and I really don't know how they're grading. I lean towards the value being at tackle or wide receiver. But if there's an edge rusher that they actually really like, they could look at that. I don't think there's one there. But they have actually, since Brett Veach took over, they've kind of evaluated edge rushers differently than me. So I'm not 100% if there isn't somebody that they might actually like more. So I'm kind of on the lookout for that one. Steve, does Andy need to draft more maulers on the own line? Does he need to? Not in his mind. He never will. I don't think that's what he's going for. I thought at first when they brought in Osemele and they had Kilgore and Long can do all the power stuff as well. Like, I thought maybe they were going to drift that way and try to sprinkle it back in, but then they went back to zone guards. I don't think there's any reason that he's going to do that. I will say this. One thing that is underrated is Eichenberg is as good a run blocker as Eric Fisher is right now, in my opinion. So maybe that does help on that aspect of it. Canadian Chief, welcome back. Oh, yeah, if you guys would hit the like, that always helps. Good point. Let's see. Muhammad, do you believe Tevin Jenkins will be just as productive switching to the left side? I'm not sold on that. That's my concern. I think he can definitely do the switch. I just don't know if he'll be as good. I mean, it'd be the same thing as asking somebody who's been on the left their whole career to go over to the right. All of a sudden, as they take a leap up in competition, I have trouble asking a guy to do that. Not that it can't be done, but I wouldn't. Any chance Hudson falls to 63? Yeah, I think there's a good chance. He's got some holes. He's got to develop, in my opinion. He could be there at 63 rather easily, I would think. Do you think the Chiefs see? Again, this is familiarity, Tony. Like I said before, I don't know if there's anything really standing out. Luke, thank you for the super chat. With the Jets for sure taking a QB, is Jenkins going to be there in late 20s, or could the Chiefs get to the teens for Darisaw? I don't know that they're going to want to trade up to the teens. That's going to cost them, going by what everybody else has been giving up to move up that far. 31 to say what you'd probably have to get to 15 to go that far. 16 picks, it's going to cost you at least another number one, maybe two of them, and I don't think that's worth it. This class is good in some places. I don't think it's all that great. Let's see. Daryl Sparks, thank you very much. Appreciate the super chat. I'm guessing you have a question I'll find here in a minute. Voodoo, would you sign KJ? And are you also watching Tommy Doyle from Miami, Ohio? I have not seen Doyle. He's only popped up on my radar like once, so I might have to go back and do that. And yeah, for the right money, I would sign KJ because I think he's got another leadership aspect. I think he's still got some plays in the tank. I don't know that he'd be like play 1,000 snaps next year, but I could definitely see him on this roster. Michael, if big QB run early, maybe get the number 4 or 5 ranked offensive lineman or wide receiver. Yeah, and so Jenkins would be 4, Cosme's probably 5, Eichenberg's probably 6 on my board when it all comes out. We'll see. And I really like Terrace Marshall. I like his combination as an X, and he could be the 5th wide receiver. I just don't know if it'll last that long. You might see receivers go really high and really often, you guys. There might be 4 in the top 10. I don't know. Alpha, I think he's got some development to do. Dan did his initial review. I haven't cross-checked him yet, but we will. I'm trying to find his notes right now, and they're not coming up. From what I remember is I felt like he gets out of control. He has a little bit more lean than I like from the couple of things that I saw. Like I said, I haven't aimed at his film, but I've seen him play defenders that I've reviewed. So I think he's got a couple of things he's got to fix, but that's where he belongs. He's a developmental guy, and that's perfectly fine. It's just not with number 31 is all. Let's see. Gooch, thank you very much, as always, sir. I owe you a one-on-one very soon as well. Just let me get the matrix done and stuff. With the Falcons and Lions wanting to trade down, chances that the Chiefs trade up to get a high-impact player like Surtain or Waddle and then draft a tackle in the second. Man, I would say there's a 1% chance that they go up because you're talking number 4, number 8, right? Lions are 8, I think. I can't remember. The collateral that it would take to do that, I just don't think that they'll give up. And quite frankly, I don't know that they have to. I think you might see Waddle at the 12, 13 spot. You might be able to go up there and get him. But again, that's a whole lot that you got to give up to get there. And Waddle's my number 2, by the way. Yes. I think we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, he is. That's my thought right now, Gooch. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Thanks, man. Do you think that we draft a backup to Patrick on day 3? I really don't think there's a whole lot of depth in this quarterback class, so I tend to doubt it. If somebody's there that they think has some potential as a UDFA, I could see that, but I don't think they're drafting a backup quarterback. Stevie, could they trade up and get to keep that second? I don't think so. No. And I think it's also going to take a 1 or a 2 or a couple of 1s. Mr. Porter, thank you. Oh, I'm trying, buddy. I'm not sleeping much, and I'm trying to get through this. This year's been a tough one. A lot more work than I usually have to go through just to get the athleticism done. FLDB, yes, I will be streaming the draft live. All of the first round, all of the second day, and sporadically on the third day. I'll round the Chiefs draft choices, of course. And that won't rule out any emergency things that we have to do because they jump up or something like that. Rank the top 3 positions you think are most likely to be drafted by the Chiefs at 31. Tackle, wide receiver, linebacker, I think are the 3. Krista Swag, do you think Watson DOD get more playing time this year? I don't, unless somebody gets hurt. I think they've both run most of their course. I think if they were going to give Watts more playing time, they wouldn't have brought back Dan. Concrete, I see that you asked again. I must be really behind because I already answered your question. Julian, would you draft Wyatt Davis on day 2-3 as a replacement for LDT? Late day 2, yeah, I can see him in the 80s, something like that. I'm comfortable with that. Yeah, I think there has been more hype that he should go in the 50s, and I never saw that. I don't feel that that's where he belongs either. But yeah, like a round later, I'm more than comfortable with that. Let's see, where do I have him? Oh, I originally had him as a borderline, like top of the second. Now I think he's probably mid to top of the third, maybe, and certainly for the Chiefs later than that. Good point. Muhammad, what do you make of Elijah Molden of CB from Washington? I love him. I think if you were here a few weeks ago, I told you guys that he was the guy that I see fitting. He's just, I think, an eighth of an inch shorter than Tyron, and he plays a lot like him. Doesn't quite have the top end speed, but he can play the nickel. He can play the safety. He's great in a robber role. He has super ball skills. I have him over Asante Samuel. I'll tell you that. And I know somebody's going to complain. I can't remember who it was that was so adamant that I was wrong. It might be Casey K. But yeah, his ball skills and his tenacity and his understanding of the game, I think, take him heads and tails above a number of corners whose names are a lot bigger. Steve, is Sewell worth trading up for? Not, in my opinion, he is not, because you'd have to go into the top 10, I think. Falcons and Lions want to trade. Yeah, again, but they're looking for multiple first-round picks in return, and I'm not giving that up if I'm Brett Veach. Doug, do you think Saunders could possibly play fullback or linebacker? No. That's all fill in. That's fun in week 17. I loved him at linebacker, but no, that's not something he can do down in, down out for a season. Only 1 year left on his deal. I'm not sure who you're referring to, though, Julian. Avery, like Brady Christensen, as in that second tier, possibly. He also is going to run into that thing. He's super athletic, but I think teams are going to ding him for his arm length. His hands are good, but they're not as good as Tevin Jenkins. If they were, then it might not matter. But do you think Hardman is going to break out this year? Ian, if I knew that, I'd be laying bets in Vegas. I've been waiting on McCool for a while. I think he still can. It's just whether he puts it all together or not. Ian, why are they keeping DOD if they won't give him a chance? He's a great special teams player. He's got decent speed, and he's super cheap. He's on a rookie contract, so he'll be here until he's not on that rookie contract anymore. Let's see. What's your favorite tight end that you could see the Chiefs drafting to back up Kelsey? I like Tremble, like Aaron. I do. I think he was underused, maybe not misused, but underused in Notre Dame in their offense. I think he has the potential to become something. I still like who is it? Trey McKitty. Again, a guy that wasn't used enough in college, so his film doesn't show you enough. It is about whether he can run down the field or not for him. Who else? Somebody else just stood out to me the other day. It was the kid from BYU. I think he's going to be either a UDFA or a really late round pick. Bushman's his name. I think he could turn into something. You never know. Nobody's talking about Darrell Williams with a Y. That's because they haven't told us anything. He's still on the practice squad as far as we know. Danilo says he's not big on Brevin. Wow, he answered my question from a long time ago. I'm way behind you guys. He's higher on Yeboah. Okay. That's who I thought, but I couldn't remember for certain. Mike Daniel. I like Peyton Turner as well. I am working on his film now. In fact, I think it's Peyton Turner against Brady Christensen's the next thing that I'm going to watch. I do like him. I don't know about second or third. He might not even last that long. On initial review, just off of watching games here and there, I had him as a fourth rounder. But I think popular opinion is higher than that. I just don't know if the league is. Tony, I still haven't watched Vasher. I know that Danilo did. He's got his opinion on it. I haven't gotten that far down. Marshall, thank you for your super chat. By the end of the season, do you see Pringle working past Robinson and Hardman to become the eventual number 2? Well, there's a difference between being the number 2 weapon and being the number 2 wide receiver. Like, I do think that he will pass Robinson. Hardman's going to be like the slot guy. So, like, you have Z and X. If you're the X, technically, I would call you the number 2, with the slot being the third wide receiver. But is that the third weapon in the wide receiver group? No, it really isn't. Unless McColl just kind of drops the ball completely. I think McColl's going to be the second option in the pass game here, unless they draft somebody, pretty high up. I could see them doing that. Okay, looks like I missed something. I got to go back to my spreadsheet and check, you guys. Bear with me a minute. Okay, I missed a super chat. Hopefully not a ton of them. We're going to find out. Because I don't want to shortchange anyone. Okay, so just answered Marshall's. Okay, so Thomas Roebuck, thank you for yours. You didn't ask a question that time, but I think I've run out of space to try to find it. And then Adam Daughtry. Okay, sorry, brother. Diapers expensive. Appreciate you. Hey, I understand completely. Thanks for being here. You guys have been super supportive. Don't ever apologize. Cole, good question. Bateman or Marshall at 31? That is a tough one. I like both their games. Man, I might lean Marshall myself. I am almost positive that Dan would lean Bateman. Danilo, after his pro days, David said he's already spoken to the Browns and thinks the Bills and Packers have him on the radar. If he's gone to 31, I'm probably going to be best available OT. Okay, that makes sense. We'll see. Teams talk a lot of good game. Very few of them take a linebacker in the low 30s. We'll see. Or I'm sorry, low 20s. If they bring back Breland, should they try Fenton at the third safety spot? No, because they don't have a nickel corner then. Then they're forcing Snead to go back into the nickel. I don't like that. I think Ward is probably the third outside corner if Breland is on this team. So, but yeah, I mean, you always could. He has done it a few snaps. Fenton is certainly capable of playing the safety spot. Not worried about that at all. Okay. Firefighter Farmer, how are you? What are the chances we already have our starting left tackle on the roster? Will teams make it tough on us in the draft knowing we're desperate? Well, those are two different questions. One, I don't think they're desperate yet. And two, teams don't have much of a choice. They got their own fish to fry. Like, they have to accomplish their goals. It's not just about outmaneuvering Kansas City. But I will say this. I think there is a sad possibility that they're going to try to make somebody on this roster play left tackle. My guess would be Durant. And I'm not super happy about that. My thing I keep coming back to is it's been like 2 weeks now, right? And Okung and Villanueva are still out there. I think those are the two best ones. You could try to put Rick Wagner over there. You could have had something done by then. So I don't know if it's a money thing or if they don't feel that they're a viable options, so they have to do the draft. Like, I don't know where it's at for Brett Veach and his staff. Do you buy the first round talk about Stokes? I don't think it's worth it personally. I'll tell you this. When you watch the film, in terms of impact on the game, I think you see more out of Tyson Campbell. Especially if you just watch 2020. If you watch 19, maybe it's a little more even. You saw Stokes kind of come out of that half turn, like zone look technique, right? Whereas Campbell's up in man, right? And generally that's going to be the more valuable player, the guy that can stick in man. But his athleticism skills are probably going to do it. I don't think he goes in the first. I think he's probably at the top of the second, is my opinion. What are you watching these guys? How much canoe? I'm not sure what that means. I'm going to move on. Hunter, might have gone, but Blythe was just signed. How do you feel about it? Oh, yeah, I covered this the day he was signed. I think it's a good, solid backup. I don't think there's a whole lot more upside over Austin Ryder. Different Austin, but he's a little bit better in the run. Little less in the pass game, but he's solid, and I think that it's a stopgap, and I'm fine with that as a floater for a year. What are your thoughts on the Darnold trade? Good for Sam. I started the show at the top of that. Good. Glad he got out. I like him, and I hope that he does well. When watching these guys, how much do you do or can you factor in what's being asked of them and what they appear to do? That's what evaluation is. I have to do that. You're going to hear some other analysts on some other sites and whatnot and other podcasts say, well, we just watch the film. We don't bake any of that in. Well, you need to, because they're going to be asked at the next level, and feigning ignorance of a medical condition or what somebody's asked to do versus what they'll be asked to do at the pros. That's just dodging the question. Danilo, a perspective is everything. As a non-QB needy team, we're really picking between 25th and 27th best player. That's fair. I wouldn't argue with that. I mean, because some of those guys are going up. They're getting forced up because they're quarterbacks. And, hey, more power to them. Every quarterback that goes in front of the top 12 is one more player the Chiefs have to choose from. Is Melvin Ingram a reasonable acquisition after signing Reed? I mean, he is at the price that they're offering, but that's why he hasn't signed it yet. They're trying to make it a reasonable offer, and that's why he won't come in. I haven't seen him getting contract offers anywhere else either, so that tells me something. Voodoo, why do people say that Eichenberg is limited potential, but a guy like Mitch Schwartz can become an all-pro? Because Mitch Schwartz is the outlier. And Mitch will even tell you on his social media, most guys that have his measurables and his athleticism scores don't make it. They're not his level. They might be a guy that can start and do okay for you, but Mitch Schwartz is a unique. I mean, he's a unicorn, especially given how long he played. That's why. And Eichenberg is a little bit limited. Like his kick step is not what I would say next level. Like you want to watch somebody stomp, go watch Tevin Jenkins. Like his kick is out there. And so like, he doesn't cover as much ground either. So that's part of the athleticism thing. And that's why everybody is concerned that Eichenberg is going to let speed rushers come around the edge because he doesn't kick back hard enough. Like the Chiefs don't do true vertical sets. They generally go 45-ish or 60 at the most. But everybody's concerned about him getting around the corner. But you have to take a step back and say, well, the guy hasn't allowed a sack since like halfway through the 2018 season. And yes, he wasn't playing SEC competition all the time, but he was some. So like I try not to discount that too much. I do try to say, look at the level of competition and what have you produced. Eichenberg has not given up a sack since 2018. Halfway through that season, if I remember the schedule right. Julian, Terrace Marshall, a perfect compliment to Hill Hardman. And yes, I agree. And I think he's got the size and the strength to play the X. He's got the get off. He's got the top end gear. I mean, quite frankly, I think he's not as explosive as Sam. I will say this, but I do feel he's a little bit smoother. I think he fights with his hands a little bit better. I think the top gear is right there. I think they ran the same 40. Terrace ran like 4.38. I think that's exactly what Sammy ran. If I have my memory serves anyway. That's exactly what I see when I look at him, Julian. Like that is a plug-in at the X, in my opinion. And that's why I won't discount them taking a wide receiver, especially if he's there in the first at 31. Good point, Aaron. Please, if you guys would, hit that like button. I know most of you already subscribed, but if you happen to be here on a whim, go ahead and hit subscribe so you know what's going on. Let's see. And yeah, hit the store too. That always helps us. Stevie said, I owe Gooch more than just a one-on-one. Naming rights. Yes, that's true. We're going to be like the stadium deals. Welcome to RGR Football, brought to you by Brian Gooch personally, as well as the doctor that is in charge of it all. Sorry, Gooch. Rod Stanley, Greg Newsome is a very good cornerback. I agree. He is right up there in my top 5 or 6 with Molden after the big 3. And yeah, like I'm considering dropping Caleb Farley even farther. He is now my number 3. I'm Surtain, Horn, Farley right now. But the more I hear about him having another back procedure, the less apt I am to project him long term. Okay, we're going to kind of speed through because I know I'm falling behind again. Aaron, Michael Donegan asked, and thank you for the super chat, Michael. What do you think about Clowney as a long-term stopgap? Okay, I think I did get that one. I don't like it. I don't think he's a team first guy, and I don't like that aspect of him. Let's see. Jimmy, thank you for the super chat. Very much appreciated. I will look for another question. See if I can find that in here. Julian had another. Would you draft Kellen Mond from Texas A&M as a backup or trading for future picks? Reed has a history of doing that. Yeah, like he might. Honestly, I wouldn't. I think Kellen or the kid from Washington, who's a good athlete too, has escapability. I think you can get one or both of them as a UDFA, so that's the route I would go. I think like you need to get all of your picks in play with guys that can get on the field for you. I do think this is a big year to build the base back up. Steve, are we better, worse, or the same as the team 2 months after the Super Bowl? Ooh, that's a good question. They've had some comings and some goings. Right now with the tackle situation and the lack, I mean, there was a lack of Sammy last year, so I guess I can't really discount that. I'd say it's pretty even. They might have improved slightly, but it's not dramatic. I do like the Reed thing on the defensive line because I think that helps the whole defense. Jake, thank you as always. And again, I think that's second one tonight. Given that they didn't change the offense particularly much, do you think the Chiefs regret using their pick on CEH? Would there have been a better guy? I don't know. I have no way to know if they regret it. If they do, it's probably a lost cause. I mean, it's not worth regretting. Learn from it, but don't regret. You know, he's a good kid. I think he's going to do his job well. The question becomes will Andy tailor the offense enough to make that pick at the first round in that draft worth being that part of the offense? I think that's what becomes important. I think you guys know at the time that I was, the fit certainly was there, and I love him for that. But I am not generally somebody that takes a running back in the first round, nor a tight end. So that's just the way that it is. Brian, thank you very much. I will look for another question for you in case it wasn't attached as well. Avery, you have a very good point. And that is some of what I'm basing my opinion on. Like Georgia just didn't use him. And that's not necessarily his fault. So I'm trying to see what he could be and how he will be used in the pros. Bert, if the Chiefs drafted an edge at 31, who would be your pick? That's a tough one. Because I don't think Russo's an edge. I think Greg Russo is a defensive tackle. And he's the one that everyone's projecting to fall down that far. He was thought to be an edge at the very first. And I don't know if everybody just didn't realize that he was making his big plays from the inside or not. I'm a little surprised by that. Like I knew that from watching one or two games live. But first rounders, that's tough because I'm not spending a first round pick on Jason Oweh. No production, not doing it. Osai's an interesting guy too. He's a second round pick at the best for me. I'm trying to look the rest of this list. Like it's Kwity Paye, Ojulari, and Phillips are the top three for me. And after that, it's kind of like, I don't know. You're taking your chances. Joe Tryon's an interesting guy, but he opted out, and that I didn't see domination in 2019, but I like him. And I'm trying not to let my bias for Washington football come in. But that is part of it. So, I mean, Tryon is probably the guy. I think it's too early for Weaver. I think it's too early for Basham. Yeah. I think my answer would be Tryon. Let's see. Brian Gooch, as always, he's back. Blythe is a stopgap one-year rental to give impression that we're not looking for a center in order to draft the best center in the draft, to give him a chance not only to get healthy, but to stay healthy. If he's capable of staying healthy, I don't think that's guaranteed, dude. I know who you mean, and I know why you mean it. And I love his game. Dickerson is scary. Like if I'm going to get in a fight tonight, I want Landon Dickerson standing behind me. But as long as he doesn't get kicked in the knee, I think it'll be okay. But you just never know. But yeah, if it's me, I wouldn't draft Dickerson until the second round, no matter what. And if the rest of the league feels that way, it gets up towards 63. If Chiefs took him at 63, I'm perfectly fine with it. Just can't do it at 31, even though he's the best center on the field when he's on the field. in this class, I mean. And I know that how you feel. Thank you, Gooch. Brian, I tried to make this point last week. As things currently stand, the Chiefs have no option but to draft a left tackle in the first. I mean, I see what you mean. In order to try to maintain the level of Eric Fisher, I agree with you. But the teams don't see it that way. They're looking to have an option, period, not necessarily at that level. And I think that they do like Yasser Durant. And I think like they might feel that Villanueva could come in and do 85% of what Fisher did. So I think the team is going to call us both wrong. Cole, Marshall, Bateman are there. Who are you picking? Again, I would go Marshall. Dan would go Bateman. I'm not sure who Danilo would take. Dede, how are you? Okay, hopefully I said it correctly or better that way. Thank you again for the super chat. Do you honestly think we're done in free agency until the draft? I'd like to sign a left tackle before the draft. I would like to too. I'm a little concerned that they haven't, and why haven't they? Because I think they would have been able to get Okung or Villanueva by now if they wanted to. So I'm a little concerned about that. I really don't have any information on either of them. So I'm kind of in the dark as well. Aaron, good point. I do get this question a lot. So the levels on the memberships are what determine like what you get access to, right? So like everybody, entry level, everybody gets to do all the extra stuff here in the chat with the icons and the badges and all that stuff. Everybody gets that, and that's great. And then as you go up, you get to Gooch level, where you get to yell at me one-on-one about Landon Dickerson for an hour and a half, and I just take it. Something like that. But yeah, the Zoom meetings are for the all pros and elites. The live streams are for the level down. That's the starters. And then the videos, you get something every week when you're a rookie. So that is how that goes. Thank you, Aaron. I always forget to bring that up. And Dede, thank you. Yeah, that's a good point. That happens all the time. It is funny. And it's funny because you don't usually see these revelations at this point in the draft because it all gets scoped out in late February at the combine. But yeah, there's a lot of guys that are like, whoa, you're not even close to what you were listed at. It is kind of funny to me. Adam, I don't know if he is. I heard that rumor or saw that report that he could go as well. I have no insight on that. SF, thank you for the super chat earlier. What is the max draft capital you would forsake to move up? And for what players would you move up? I would go up for one of the top tackles. I think Slater may actually be better at guard. So like for me, it would be Sewell or Darisaw probably. And I would go up there. And if you felt one of those guys was that much better than Jenkins or Cosme, then I would say if you're giving up an additional first-round pick, I can live with that because you are protecting Patrick Mahomes. I'm not giving that up for Jenkins or Cosme, though. I would give up probably a third to move up 10 spots. Can they get to 21 and get that done? Because I think the Colts at 21 are going to take a tackle. So you'd have to go to 20, right? And that's the Bears. Maybe Matt Nagy can help you pull that string. I don't know. But I would give up a second if I had to. And if I could get Penei Sewell, like if he drops to 14, I would give up a first and a third. I could live with that because there is nothing at the end of the day, not just for this season, but as we look down the road, there's nothing more important than protecting Patrick. Holly, thank you for your super chat as always. What do you think? Who do you think could be a productive day one starter of the Chiefs draft pick who also fills a hole in the roster? With the exception of Slater, because I do think that Slater has to be a guard. And I think AVT, as much as I like him, I think he's going to be best at guard. Could he play tackle? Probably. But Sewell, Darisaw, Jenkins, and Cosme, I think they all could be a day one starter and fit. Eichenberg can be a day one starter and not have as much upside as those guys probably, but be really, really steady and fill that hole. Zaven Collins could do that at the linebacker spot. He's probably the only linebacker at 31 that I would feel that way about. I think Jabril and Jamin Davis are round two guys, but I think they also would feel that, but then not first rounders. And then I like Terrace Marshall. I like Bateman. Who's the other guy that I'm higher on than everybody else? Where'd he go? Oh, well, I'm always higher on Waddle than everybody else. Except for Dane Brugler. He seems to agree with me. Where'd he go? Oh, it'll come to me. It's not on my list, but I'm higher on somebody that I'm always out there. Those are the three. I'd like to see more, but those are the three positions that stand out to me. Thank you, Holly. I appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to try to get out these two other questions on Super Chat. Oh, especially because they're a little bit sizable. Thank you both very much. Ian, I saw that. I think it's probably more of an April Fool's joke than anything. So I'm not going to go too deep on that. Odin's Child, how are you? Thank you very much for the Super Chat. As always, you still want to try an RGR IPA. I'm going to have to name it that eventually, right? Maybe what I'll do is I'll do a custom so you can help me choose the hops. I'm experimenting with Lupo Max, by the way. And that is a huge IPA booster. So we'll see how that comes out. Thank you, Odin. I appreciate it, as well as your support for the beer and everything else that I do. Very much appreciated. Julian, I wish Phillips would be available at 31. Yeah, I would definitely consider it. And it's a long shot. Like, there are serious concussion issues. So, I mean, you never know. It could happen. Hey, look, Dan made it.
What's going on, everybody?
Hey, buddy. We are
for some reason it says
I messed it up.
Never mind.
Yeah, my fault. But yeah, a couple of things. A couple of questions that got asked. At 31, they're both available, whatever. Bateman versus Marshall. What do you got?
I'm going to take Marshall because he's bigger, he's faster, and he can do more down the field. I like Bateman. He's better, more of an Allen Robinson type. He can attack the middle of the field, the intermediate parts better. I still think that Bateman can do some things down the field, but Marshall is a guy that already can do all of those at an NFL level, and he can add more of the intermediate stuff to his game. So I think I like that upside a little bit better.
Okay, cool. I happen to agree with you. I thought you were going to say Bateman. So sorry, folks, I misled you. I was wrong. Bruce, thank you very much. No question. Just wanted to show the support. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Especially that. But hey, you got to have a question, right? Like, I feel bad. I want to answer something. But okay. We'll get to Pono, and we'll see if you come up with something else, Bruce. Do we get Pono's got a good question. Do they get Browns Ravens in a shocking trade scenario? Shocking would be what it was, and no, I don't think there's any way unless hell freezes over.
Yeah, I've only seen like one report, as in someone on Twitter shooting their shot, thinking it's going to come out later that they were interested, and I'm not entirely sure that they are. I don't think he's a scheme fit.
I think it's a little off-putting too when a player demands to play a position.
Yeah. He's like, I only want to play left tackle. That's it. I don't care about anything else.
Yeah. And that's hard for GMs and coaches to swallow. And I don't blame them a bit. It's like, it's like getting a babysitter and she demands that I make, Alfredo for her before I leave. No, I'm paying you. That's not the way this works. Pono, good to hear from you, though. I'm glad you're back. Michael, do you see a starting quarterback? A starting QB backing up PM in 2 to 3 years, like Locke? Maybe, probably not. I think Andy always wants somebody at the end of their career to be like the wisdom in the room, and somebody at the very beginning of their career to stay cheap. It's guys like Locke will be in 2 or 3 years. They're in the middle of their career that I don't think he's going to have a lot of interest in.
I'm hoping that they get somebody like that personally, just because if you have someone who started a bit in the league and in the tragic case that Mahomes has a season-ending injury, maybe it doesn't go down the whole way.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I just it seems like counterintuitive to what they like to do, but who knows? Doug, team guys are thanks. We're working our butts off. Everybody's put down around here. Aaron runs the show and we're live. Dan does all the film work with me. Danilo's got his guys that I haven't even heard of some of the guys that Danilo watches. So like he's beating the grass for stuff that I don't even know about. And Jeff is keeping me straight on all the stats. So like it is a team effort around here and we appreciate your support, Doug. Stack bundles. So. Who else? Oh, good Lord, Gooch. Why you got to spoil me like that? Dang. I'll get to you in a second.
He doesn't know not to.
Nathan Altick. Who's this year's overhyped draft prospect? And who is this year's overlooked prospect, and why overlooked, and why in both circumstances? I feel like Koromo is overhyped.
I can understand that.
He's not a linebacker. I think he's a tweener, and I think he's going to fall. I think he'll still go in the first round, but I think he'll fall down a lot lower than people think he will.
Yeah. For me, it's Barmore. I just can't get on. I can't get on the train with that guy. I mean, I like the tools. It's there. I feel like he doesn't like to play football. I think he does whatever he wants to do whenever he wants to do it, and that bothers the hell out of me.
Top 10% of his plays are awesome.
Oh, yeah, they are. They're great.
The other 90, I'm kind of worried about.
I just watch him get blown out of a gap for absolutely no reason. He shouldn't either. He's got more than enough strength to do some of the stuff that he can do, and he just gets blown out of gaps randomly. Like, no.
Agreed. Dede, I'd love Creed at 63. I don't think there's a chance in anything that he's there.
Yeah, I'm not so sure either. That would be like a shock of him falling to 63, to be completely honest with you.
Now, I also don't think he's a first round pick that a lot of like the mock machines are doing either. I think he's somewhere solidly in the 50s. And
center's just not.
Yeah.
I can't draft a center in the first round. I'd be tempted. I'd be tempted with Dickerson if he was fully healthy. I'm not going to lie. I'd be tempted.
If he was healthy, I would probably be okay with it. Sorry, Gooch. We'll get to you in a second. I can see you right now. Do you think that Veach feels like he's up against a wall? If so, what % chance does he make a big trade up for a left tackle? You tell me.
Interesting question. That's an interesting question because, I have a feeling that length and the arm length is a thing for Andy Reid. You can take some of the outliers out. Remmers is a guy who's been in the league a while, but they seem to want tackles that have longer arms. Just from a historical standpoint, you look through a lot of the stuff that they've brought in, guys that they draft, that kind of thing. It's not a whole big list of guys, but I do feel that it's something that they want. I don't care so much about length. I think 33-inch arms at tackle is fine, especially with the technical aspect that a lot of these top guys show. I think that that's something that isn't in a lot of these draft classes. So you have guys with shorter arms who are very technical with their hands and have really good footwork. But I also know that there are a lot of guys in this draft class that are athletic, they're big, and they got long arms. They're just not refined to the point where they can be a starting left tackle yet. So while I think that he might have an itch to trade up to get a guy like Darashaw, especially if he's fallen to like 20. I think that that's something that they could think about. But I think that they're going to wait, and day 2 is where they're going to hit their tackle. That's just my own personal, what I've come to kind of feel about this draft class.
Yeah, and that may very well be because Brady Christensen's out at tackle as far as the Chiefs are concerned.
Yeah, I'm not so sure anymore. He's a perfect scheme fit, but he just doesn't have the arms. He's got no arms.
And it's funny because I said something similar before you got on an hour ago. Like, I think it matters to them. It might not matter to everybody else, but some teams will take guys out of a position. I think AVT's the same way. I think he's a guard only in their eyes.
He's even got shorter arms than we
exactly.
expected.
And so that's what it comes back to. So I think the only way he feels he's up against the wall is if Andy Reid is like, I got to have somebody good right now.
Yeah.
And, it is what it is. I can't remember what Eichenberg's length is, but I keep coming back to him.
33.
Safe bet.
And 3/8, I think it was 33 and 38, something like that. Like that wouldn't bother me, to be honest with you. Well, I think we will see how much it really bothers them. Yeah. Ooh, Gooch.
No, I had to click this because thank you, Gooch. But I want to apologize for missing the Zoom last week. It's all right, dude.
That's okay.
This is your life.
Yeah.
And hey, things happen. My apologies. My question is, with the dogs we just signed in Tooney, Long, and LDT, is that a discreet way to say that we are going to run and let the boys plow the road? From your lips to God's ears, or Andy's ears, I would love to see that. Because I'll tell you, Long can move people out of the way. I think Tooney, I don't know. I wouldn't call him overly powerful.
He's not a road grader.
But he's crafty. You know what I mean? Like he can get a guy out of the hole is my point. Like he's not driving him down the field.
No.
But he can turn him is my thought. But man, Gooch, I don't know. And that's another thing. I keep coming back to this this thing where if Jenkins falls and it's Jenkins, Eichenberg, Cosme, like what do I like there? It comes back to me that if they do feel they're going to have light boxes and they are going to have to run the ball, Eichenberg moves people. Like he's as good as Fishes in the running right now, in my opinion. I know there's issues about the movement. I don't like his kick step as much as anybody else. But if they're going to have to run behind them, I like Eichenberg the best out of those three.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think Sammy Cosme fits more of what Eric Fisher did, especially when he was coming out. He's got more of that type of build. He's the athlete that Eric Fisher projected as. I'm not sold on Cosme as a first-round prospect only because of some of his hip flexibility issues that I noticed in his pass protection. He can kind of get pushed back on his haunches a bit, and you don't want to see that from a tackle with the level of athlete you're going to be pass protecting. Like, that's just not what you want. So, I mean, I think that Cosme fits more what they're looking for. Eichenberg is probably one of the more pro-ready guys. We talked about that multiple times. And again, I think it's going to come down to arm length. I do think that these guys coming in shows that they're like, okay, we're going to see light boxes, and we have to show teams that we can run the football, and you can't just sit back and rush 3 guys, rush 4 guys all day long. The Chiefs have to do something to counter that. Otherwise, guess what's going to happen? They're just going to continue to drop everyone back in coverage, and then they're going to find the weak spot on the offensive line and pass protection, and they're going to attack it with stunts and everything, and they're just going to keep running at Patrick. And that's not what you want to do.
And over and over.
Exactly. It's going to be over and over again. And no matter how much you practice against dropping 9 guys into coverage, it's not going to get easier unless you have 5 Tyreek Hills on the field. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. I would hope that they're looking at that, Gooch. And thank you for the support.
Yes, thank you. That's amazing.
Metal gets into this one too. I was reading an article that said Peyton Turner could be a target. Spags might look for them in the draft. Also, I was seeing people say that the Chiefs could get Bateman. Bateman might fall to them. I'm not sure where the league has him. Like, I don't think it's pro day hurt him.
No, it's hard to gauge the league on Bateman. His 2020 season was weird. His pro day numbers and his earlier workout numbers are weird, off. Like, his size, now his poundage is down, like, from what it was listed at. So
yeah, he was like, I would never been 200 pounds ever.
I know. Like, I mean, this is the kind of thing about these pro days and everything like that, and why you cannot ever trust what you read on a college website ever. Yeah. No matter what it's listed at, just kind of take some inches, some weight off a little bit, just for your own memory. Just remember that going forward. If you're looking at players, it's Bateman's going to be seen around the league differently from probably every single team, I think.
Metal, just to address your other one, I like Peyton Turner. He's a guy that I dig
very much.
But I would question who wrote what you're reading, because he's pretty raw for what Spags likes. Yes, he has the size and the length, but he's got development to go. You know, like, I don't know I wouldn't say that fits what Spags is looking for. Would you, Dan?
I think it really depends on what they want to do. They could feel comfortable with a guy on day 3. I don't think Peyton Turner's actually going to be there on day 3. But this is the kind of thing that I have been kind of thinking that they're going to do. They're going to take a guy on day 3 that does have to develop. They don't have like one thing that they can come into the league and contribute. Like, Mike Danek could come in and be a help run stopper. Like, he could actually come and do that. And he did that very well in his rookie season. And now they're working on the pass rush. So I think that they have the luxury, in my own personal opinion, to take a guy on day 3 and let him develop a little bit with the length, with everything that they want in a defensive end. I wish they could get a guy with some speed and length and power, but, you know.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Metal, I also like Onzarika. I don't know if he's going to be there. Holly asked, thank you for the super chat, Holly. Second one tonight. Ryan just answered before Dan joined. Would like to get his opinion too and see if you disagree. What would you think about a productive day 1 starter, Chiefs draft pick, any position?
Okay, so we have mentioned Liam Eichenberg multiple times. I think he could come in and start. Again, the questions on length, his arm length it will be answered one way or another. And if we're going strictly based on guys that can come in and contribute, Zaven Collins is a guy that could come in and be a productive starter at linebacker for the Chiefs. I do think so. After going over his film, I think that he's a guy, if they fell to 31, linebacker position isn't exactly a huge in terms of positional value in the first round, but I do think that he's a top 3 linebacker in this class. He could come in and be a starter. And a guy, we've talked about Terrence Marshall. I think that these kind of wide receivers, Bateman, Marshall, I don't know if there's anybody that's going to really be around there at that time, unless Devontae Smith all of a sudden just falls off of draft boards because of his weight. But those are some names that I've thrown around in my own head that can come in and produce in their first season. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for, to be completely honest with you. So I appreciate that.
I'm with you. I would add that I do feel that Molden can play day one. Newsome can play day one at the corner spots.
Okay, yes. Newsome as well.
I'm
not so sure about Molden, but
okay, fair enough. That's the next guy you got to look at his film.
And Dickerson, because Dickerson, if they were taking him in the first round, he would be
right.
Day one.
All right, Swi-Fi, we're going to get you, and we're going to finish up the super chats because I didn't realize we were 20 minutes over. The wife's already hitting me. So, who, if any, could the Chiefs draft in the later rounds that could be a starter on day one? Appreciate you guys. I assume you're talking tackle. I'm not sure.
I think he's just kind of throwing randomness out there, to be completely honest with you.
Go for it.
Third round guys. This is a tough one. Day one starter. So there's probably going to be, I don't know where they're talking about Jamin Davis, probably second round, I would think, right?
Like I just keep seeing like the quote unquote draft experts creeping him up into the first, and I don't see it.
Really?
Yeah, I have him in the second.
Weird. I mean, okay, but I mean, man, this is a tough one. I think Stone Forsythe has an opportunity. Okay.
Really?
Yes, I think that he's one of the guys, possibly Spencer Brown. He's probably creeping up in the second round for me, later second round option. But Stone Forsythe, left tackle out of Florida, is a guy that I think could actually come in and be a day one starter. You're going to have some growing pains with him. He does have some athleticism limitations. He's 6'8". He also has, it's weird. He's 6'8" and like 306. He doesn't have as much poundage on him as you'd want for a guy that size. And because of that, he does have some issues with contact strength and issues like that. But the dude's drop set, his pass sets are smooth. He's got very good hands. When he gets, like, if you get inside of him, you're not going anywhere. He can lock you up. The only chance you really have is being able to get around outside, setting him up the outside and coming back to the inside. That's where his lateral athleticism is still working because he's so big. He's 6'8". It's hard for him to go from his, back from his left into his right. So that's an issue he's going to have. But I do think that he could come in and actually at least compete to be a day one starter. I'm not saying that we're talking about a guy who can come in and lock down a left tackle spot, but I think he could start.
Yeah, fair enough. Frank asked about Leatherwood. I think he's kind of in the same spot. Like, he might be better at guard, but he could probably do it in a pinch.
I mean, I'm all for letting him fail at tackle first.
Yeah, absolutely. Radin's at 31. I'm out. He might actually end up being the same thing as Leatherwood to me.
I like Radins. I think that he's going to be a tackle. But again, we're talking about arm length. He's got all the athleticism in the world. I think he's got more technical hands than a lot of guys coming out of some of the smaller name schools. But I think that he's going to be a second round. He's a second round pick for me. If he goes in the first, I'm just off of it. I'm not a huge fan.
Okay, cool. We're in the same spot. I actually have him top of the third, but that's me. Real Kit B. Is that how you say that? I'm not sure. Yeah, appreciate that. Especially without asking for anything. But of course, Gooch is still online, so he had to throw something else. We got to wrap it up, man. Mama's calling. But thank you again, Gooch, as always.
Thank you.
What worries me is that Veach might try to throw receivers at the team due to a lack of separation, but it is a product of the rush or Mahomes not getting to his third read. Pringle was open a lot in that game. I assume that you're talking about the Super Bowl.
You can never really take one game as a byproduct of everything. There's a ton of things that went wrong in that game. I don't think that it was any one thing in particular. And as much as Mahomes maybe locked onto Hill and Kelsey for a large part of the season, I think he knew that he was going to have to get the ball out extremely quick in that game, or else it was pretty much over. So he knew he went to the guys that he assumed would be open as quickly as possible. And that's kind of where my head goes to. And I do think that he's going to have some receivers. I think that depending on their board at 31 and 63 respectively, you're going to have options at wide receiver. And they very well could take receiver there. And I almost expect them to be honest with you, because you still need guys with talent, upside that can get open now and it can get better later in the future. And we're kind of seeing a cap at that situation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily tunnel vision. I do think that it was because he didn't have time to really set up and survey.
Yeah.
But that said, if he's got a third receiver that can get that separation in the first 3 steps, that alleviates part of the blocking issue as well. So I agree with you. I think Pringle was open a lot though, Gooch, and I do expect for him to take a step forward.
Let's hope so.
Knock on wood.
Thank you, Holly. Appreciate that.
Holly, yes, thank you. I know we kind of ran long tonight, you guys. We got one more from Jake, and then we're going to call it. But thank you all for being with us. If you're not one of our regulars, sub, like, bell. That's the way you do it, I guess. I don't know. I'm so out of it right now. Get out of here, guys. Thanks for the chat. See you Thursday. Dare you to take a wide receiver in the first this time. Jake, I will take you up on that if the right guy is there. I think we talked about 2 of them that could be there this whole time. So
we might try jumping on Thursday to get some input on this next one.
Yeah, hey, I think that we definitely should. Thank you guys for all of your questions, for all of your support, every super chatter, and all of you that are just here to ask questions. Very much appreciated. I'm going to go spend a little time with the family tonight, and we will be back. I'll have something for you tomorrow. Looks like I'm going to have to address rumors again, which is my least favorite thing to do. But if people keep making stuff up, I'm going to keep smashing it. And I'll have something for you members for Tuesday as well. And then we'll get back to Dan on Wednesday, the mock draft live on Thursday night, so on and so forth, like we always do. Matrix should drop by the time you get home from work on Wednesday, if everything goes according to plan and I'm up till 3 o'clock in the morning like I have been the last 5 nights. So keep an eye out for that. And you remember, it'll be, what'll it be? It'll be Matrix RGR is going to be the discount code for you guys. So thanks for watching. Dan, thanks for jumping in.
Sorry, I was a little late, guys. I got the wrong memo.
I probably didn't send the right one. So thank you all for your time. We will see you tomorrow. Have a good one.